What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Reformed Reader, the channel where we review different forms of media through the lens of a Christian who is under the authority of the scriptures. My name is Josh, and today we're going to be doing our weekly update. Now, obviously, I am going to keep things a little bit lower maintenance today. It's just a beautiful day outside, and I wanted to spend some time outside with my kiddos and enjoy this nice weather. So yeah, gonna keep it fairly low maintenance today. Maybe it'll change things up and seem a bit refreshing for you guys as well. So let's jump right in with a quick life update. So this week has been a fairly hectic week at work. It's not been horrible, but as far as the workload goes, it's just for those of you that have to work like, a quote unquote regular job, like I do, oftentimes it's like workplace drama that tends to add unnecessary stress. And that was this week. So yeah, this week was not a fantastic week. I try to stay out of all of that as much as possible. Thankfully, with my job, I report into a place and then we go out. And so the guy that is kind of my partner at work, who he and I go out and we do these inspections and things. We've got things down pat. He's a good brother, and we have a really good time. So most days it just kind of feels like I'm hanging out with one of my friends and getting paid for it. So that's not bad at all. So we just try to stay out of the office and out of all that workplace drama. And then we had a surprise visit from my brother. So my brother that lives in Colorado decided to come and just spend some time with us. It was a bit of a surprise to us. We had like 1 or 2 weeks notice of him coming. So we had a very good time. And the last one, it was something that I was going to mention last week, and I actually recorded it and chopped it out, which is that I had a doctor's visit this past week. And so several months ago, I had gotten sick, nothing big. Just had seemed like a sinus infection or something. I'd lost my voice, and I noticed that I was going to get in the shower, and I noticed I coughed, and my neck on this side had kind of like ballooned out in a weird way. And so I was like, ooh, that's not good. And it's probably my lymph nodes that are swollen. And I went from that to, I was like, oh, it'll probably go down, in a couple weeks. And it just never did. So over the course of, I don't know, 3 to 6 months now, it just really hasn't gone down. And I'll see if I can show the camera. If you don't want to see it, then that's fine. But for those of you that, like, on this side of my neck, it kind of balloons out right there. And so what I did is I reached back and, I started feeling, and there's some sort of a knot there. So I've got a good friend of mine that's a physician, and he told me, he's like, you might want to go have that checked just to be on the safe side. Cause it could be a cyst or something. So anyway, I had a doctor's visit Monday, and they drew some blood. The doctor seemed pretty optimistic as far as it not being, something really serious. So, there's a few green flags that showed up, and anyway, so they took some blood and all that, and waited to hear back from him. I heard back from him Friday as I was leaving work, and they said it looked like some of my liver enzymes were elevated, showing that I had some sort of viral infection. And they had asked if I had mono, and I was like, I don't think so. As far as I know, I've never had mono in my life. And they essentially said, no, you have had it. And they think that could be the cause of this, that my lymph nodes just have not recovered because that virus lingers, that it could cause some sort of, not just elevated enzyme levels, but then it could also cause those lymph nodes to swell, which I didn't even know I had lymph nodes down here. I knew they were up here, but apparently they're all over. So yeah, that was a little bit scary to find like a mass in your neck. But thankfully it looks like everything's gonna be taken care of. I go back Tuesday for an ultrasound for them to get a good look at it, to see if if it's they essentially think it's either some form of cyst, or it could just be swollen lymph nodes or a gland issue or something like that. So they didn't seem extremely worried. So that makes me sets my mind at ease a little bit more. But if you guys wouldn't mind, keep me in your prayers this week, that would be much appreciated. So this leads me to, what did I read? So we'll start with the Dresden Files. So I continued on with reading the Dresden Files. How are y'all? So I continued reading Dresden. I'm about 80% through. I plan to finish that probably in the next, I don't know, couple of days. I tend to listen to my audiobooks at work. And so when I'm not at work, my audiobooks, as far as like the progress, definitely diminishes. So I do plan to finish that probably the first couple days of work next week where I can actively listen to something. And then my progress with Malice has been slow. I'll get into that in a minute. But then I finished Fang Gloria by A.M. Wiley. This is that arc that he sent me. I wanted to make sure that I tried to get that read. And man, it was such a fantastic palate cleanser. It was exactly what I needed. And I think I may have mentioned this last week, but you know, he warned me ahead of time. He's like, this is certainly my most adult book. So, you know, there's a little bit of content things in there that I will discuss in my review. There's a couple little spots of language in there. But overall, man, it was phenomenal. And like I said last week, that first chapter, if you're not hooked by that first chapter, I don't think you'll enjoy it. But if you do like the first chapter, I think you'll really be hooked. But I don't want to give too much away about it because I do have a review coming out pretty soon, and I want you guys to pick it up. But that's really all I read this week. Due to just circumstances in life, I just have not been super motivated to just like plow through a book or anything this week. So this leads me into what am I going to read? So I'm going to continue Dresden. I will finish that up this week. Having a good time with it. I will say that I thought I was having a much better time with it than I was. I think I'd convinced myself like, ooh, new Dresden book. Because I kept saying, yeah, it's really good. It's really good. And I found myself last week going, I kind of don't care. And I almost just stopped reading it. Not because it was bad. I was just so bored. And then like, you know, I said before that seems like the first quarter of the book is him like dealing with the events of the last book. And it's really been this entire book, which I understand. It makes sense. I certainly don't think this is going to make the top of my list unless something crazy happens at the end. It is really cool. There's a couple new characters that were introduced that I'm really liking, but yeah, I don't know. I've struggled with this one more than most of them that I've picked up. So, you know, it's good, not great in my opinion so far, but I do plan to finish that this week. As far as Malice goes, guys, I don't know if it's my tastes are changing or what. And by the time you guys see this, I think I will have put out a short talking about my experience, not just with Malice, but with epic fantasy. But I think I'm just burnt out on epic fantasy. Now, I'm not burnt out on fantasy or sci-fi, but epic fantasy, these huge tomes that have, you know, 5 or 6 POVs, if not more. And they're kind of this slow grind. And like, I think I'm just getting burnt out on it. And so again, I don't know if it's just like burnout or if my tastes are changing completely and I'm leaning away from epic fantasy, but I'm going to put a pause on Malice for right now. Again, it's one of those things where it's not bad. It's not the book. It's me. Um, I just think my tastes are changing. I'm just not having as much fun with it as I should. I'm not having as good of a time with it as I want to be when I'm reading a book. So I find myself normally, like I've said before, when we put our kids to bed, I normally get to read from about 9 to 11 o'clock at night. And typically I'll pick that book up and be excited to dive back into it. And I just haven't been with Malice really at all. And again, it's not because of the book. I'm just like, I'm not, it's just kind of a trudge through this. And if you guys have read it, I've made it past the halfway point. I've made it to like the 60% mark. And there was like kind of a big reveal, I think. You know, obviously I haven't read the whole thing, but it was a bigger reveal took place. And it just like, I kind of didn't care. So I think I'm just going to pause it for a week and probably come back to it because I just kind of don't care about epic fantasy right now. So I think I'm just going to completely shift gears and pick up something unique, something that's a standalone, something that's punchy, something I can read in a couple of days and maybe read a few books this week rather than trying to plow through one that I'm not really having a good time with, because I've told you guys before, I read for entertainment and I'm just not getting the same level of entertainment out of my books. And so I'm learning to stop forcing myself to read things that I'm not really enjoying. I know there's a lot of books out there that I want to get to, where I don't have the time in my life to get to all of them. And so why would I waste time reading something that I'm not really having a good time with? And again, I think I can have a good time with it. I think I just have to come back to it. And y'all might think, well, a week's not long enough to do that. It may not be, but right now it seems like it'll be sufficient. So yeah, that's the plan, is to maybe pick it back up in a week and see how I feel about it. And maybe I just come back to it much later, and which really stinks because it was my priority series for the year. Yeah, just not having as good of a time with it as I would have liked. What am I going to read? I'm going to finish Dresden. I'm going to shelve Malice for this week, and I'm going to pick up something different. I'm going to pick up hopefully a couple of books. So by the end of this week, I hope to have finished 3 books. So Dresden and maybe 2 others. That's the plan. And then that'll thankfully hit my 4 books this month, because I'm like behind on my schedule. So let's talk about last week on the channel. I did my 10 more things that I learned about on BookTube. You guys seem to really enjoy those. I had fun making that one just because you guys got to kind of see behind the scenes, and I got to kind of talk about some things that were a little less applicable to everybody. It was like much more of the niche of BookTube and maybe some more practical elements. And I hope that didn't come across as like elitist or egotistical at all, because that is not what I intended. It wasn't like, I know all this stuff and you should learn from me. No, it was really, and I probably should have been far more specific, but it was really aimed towards people who are looking at getting into YouTube or starting a BookTube channel. It was some tips that I kind of wish I would have known, and maybe some encouragement of like, hey, you don't need all this fancy gear. Like today, I'm recording on my phone and I've got a little, external mic. Honestly, as long as you have something interesting to say, as long as you have something to say that your audience cares about, that's really all that matters. Like in the grand scheme of things, it is nice to have all the extra stuff, but it's not necessary. So getting to talk about some of those things and tell you guys like my thought process on some of them, I had fun doing that. And then I also released my Shadows Upon Time review. Again, that was another fun one. I was like very positive on the book. I was certainly a little bit more mixed than I was on the others. It is certainly not my favorite. It is near the bottom of the list for me, but it's still one of my favorite series of all time, so I can't really complain. Yeah, let's talk about next week on the channel. I plan to put out my Fangloria review, which I'm gonna get with A.M. Wiley and make sure that he doesn't want me to wait to put that out closer to release date. I'm fine with that. I would be happy to do that, but I want to do whatever is going to work best and for him to promote his book. So if that means releasing it on release day, then that's what I'll do. Or if that means releasing it early to get people excited about it, like I'm happy to do that as well. But yeah, I do have that recorded. I just got to get it edited. And which leads me to the next video. The next video I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do like an editing breakdown. So I've talked about it before, but I'm going to show my editing process. I'm going to break down like what I'm thinking, like how I get the raw file and go from there to get my finished product with using the different softwares and stuff that I use, because I've had several people ask me about that and I would like to get that out. That's what I hope to do. I hope to start that today. I hope to start recording me editing that video. So it'll be nice that I can do kind of 2 videos in one and sort of talk my process out. And I think it'll actually help kind of focus my attention as far as and be intentional about how I edit. So maybe you guys will enjoy that. And then this coming week, I should be filming my battle video with my bride. And then I think it'll come out the following week. So the first week of March. So the only other thing that I have for you is please don't forget the submission date for any of your viewer submissions that you guys would like to get in for my monthly wrap up. That is the deadline for that is going to be Friday. This coming Friday, which is February 27th. Just get them into me sometime by the end of the day, because I'll be recording that on Saturday and then releasing that next Sunday. So next Sunday won't be a weekly update. It'll be my monthly wrap up. So I'll be reviewing those on my monthly wrap up. So just try to get them into me as soon as possible. That would be fantastic. I love hearing from you guys. I've already got a few submissions from a few friends. Even if you guys just send in like a text question, would absolutely love to hear from you. So yeah, please send something in. I always love hearing from you guys. So yeah, that's my week. It was not as, it wasn't as busy as far as book stuff goes, as my typical week. My week was sort of ate up with some internal anxiety over this doctor's visit and the one that's coming up. So I hope that the anxiety can be at least diminished, if not alleviated altogether this week. So yeah, if you guys don't mind, please keep me in your prayers this week. I'll try to keep you updated. I don't typically like want to put a ton of like personal stuff on there, but you know, I will take as many prayers from my brothers and sisters as I can. Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with me again. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.